I think we say this every year. We've done, let's see, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24. This is our 7th time doing this podcast during training camp, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I think we say this every year, and it's really important that, especially the first couple days of camp where there's no pads on, it's really tough to have firm takes about players, about depth charts, especially early in camp. They're going to work rookies in probably slowly. They've got a bunch of guys out because of injuries. So through 2 days, it's hard to have a ton of major takeaways.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, we say it every year, but there's always the rush to overreact because it's the first thing you see. And
Totally.
Training camp is talked about by the coaches and players as like this all important thing. So whatever happens first is the thing we want to make all of our judgments off of. I think the thing that is probably most telling about training camp right now for the 49ers is the fact that like Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, those guys are like barely participating in 11 on 11. Right? They didn't participate in it at all on the first day. On Wednesday, they worked in a little bit today, according to reports, and I'll be there on Sunday. Probably not the best day to go. The first day after the day off is typically not the best, and it's the day before pads come on Monday. But with the pads coming on, that's when you'll start to get a better idea of where guys are at. Particularly, you'll see pass rushing drills. Our defensive linemen doing well against the offensive line and vice versa. What are the one-on-one, passing drills with receivers and cornerbacks and DBs and, running backs and linebackers, those types of things. You get a little bit of an idea of where guys are at once the pads come on. But yeah, for now, I think we're just happy that stuff is happening on the field that we have to talk about instead of trying to speculate and prognosticate into the future.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything that stands out to you so far about the first 2 or 3 days of training camp?
I have 2 things. 2.5 things is what I have. The first thing is I think Jauan Jennings has a contract either on the table or really close. Like the 49ers and Jennings are, let's say, a couple million annually apart. Or they're a couple million short on guaranteed dollars or whatever it is. There's some relatively minor obstacle to get over. And the 49ers said, okay, you go attack camp. Like you think you're a number 1 receiver, go be a number 1 receiver in camp and we'll clear that hurdle with you. And that's what I'm assuming. And then by all accounts from training camp, that's exactly what Jauan Jennings has done. He's not only reported on time, he's been out at practice. Again, this is reporting from people on site, practicing hard, taking the first rep in all the position drills, which is like the number 1 wide receiver thing to do. Our buddy Nick Wagner, our favorite cast member, pointed that out. The fact that this went from potential drama to if Adam Schefter didn't tweet, we wouldn't know anything was wrong, I think kind of indicates that, all right, if they were $10 million apart, this might be a little different. But it's very clear that Jauan Jennings is, I think, going to play football with the 49ers this year. And if he's doing that, I think he's doing it on a new deal.
Yeah, this is how it's gone when the Niners do have guys wanting new contracts. They've always been more likely to get done when the player's practicing. We've talked about that a bunch. And I think it makes sense for Jennings, from Jennings' standpoint, to participate, because even if he just gets a 1-year raise, right? Like if they just rip up the $7.5 million left he has on his deal and he gets a raise and he gets another bite at the apple in potential free agency next spring, you'd want to go into this season with momentum. You want to play really well this season in a contract year so you can cash out. Because if Jauan Jennings has a 1,100-yard season and catches 8 touchdowns and 80 passes, like that's somebody who can get 18, 20 million a year on the open market.
Yep.
and he's making 7.5 right now. So irrespective of what his current contract status is, it absolutely behooves him to be practicing and practicing hard. And I think it's, like again, not to beat a dead drum and be football cliche guy, but like
beat a dead
we
drum?
have beat a dead horse. Yeah. I mean, you could beat a dead drum. Probably would.
It
sound
wouldn't make
terrible.
a lot of sound. But
yeah.
yeah.
Sure. Like, yeah.
All right. Well, go ahead and kick the shit out of the dead horse. Go ahead.
Yeah. We see, like, when Christian McCaffrey had a great camp in 2013, he ended up having a great season. 2023. Sorry.
Here we go.
When I'm all over the place. I'm really.
It's because of the A's.
Got a little afternoon nap. I think I'm still waking up from it.
Nice.
Yeah, but same thing with Brandon Ayuk, right? Like, he had a great training camp and then had the career going into his contract year, got the big deal, had an all-pro type season. Like, these things are correlated in the same way that these guys holding out last offseason led to them not being as good as we've typically seen them, right? Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk last year. Like, yeah, we've seen all that. So
Trent Williams.
If you're Jauan, and if you're Jauan Jennings, you look at it and say, all right, I could hold out, and then maybe I don't have a good season, and then, man, I look really stupid and I don't get paid in the way that I need to, or I just come and practice and show up to training camp because I like to play football, and if I'm on the practice field, it's far more likely that I get a new deal done.
Yeah.
So I think that's where this is at.
Yeah, I was really curious to see, because Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch said they anticipated Jauan Jennings being out there. They expected him to be out there, but we heard that same thing about Brandon Ayuk, because they expect every player to participate, but that doesn't mean they will. So I really got the idea that Jennings is either close on a deal or they're working towards some kind of longer term extension. That was my initial camp takeaway. The other one, if you want me to just rattle mine off here, the half one was about Dee Winters. Check that. That's the second one. That was number 2.
Okay. I'm
really, really interested to see how this Will linebacker battle, if that's what it winds up being, turns out, because Winters played the third most defensive snaps on the team last year. At linebacker, I should say. And you hear Fred Warner talking about how he's ready to take a leap and he's getting the first team reps. And it kind of makes me wonder why they were then spending a 3rd round pick on a linebacker who has relatively similar measurements, who isn't going to play the Sam linebacker spot in all likelihood because he's too undersized for that position. I think it's kind of interesting how that battle is shaping up, because I was under the impression that Nick Martin was drafted in the 3rd round because they were not super satisfied with Dee Winters. And the fact that they're 2 days into camp, Dee Winters is getting the first team reps, and you're hearing everybody talking about how awesome Dee Winters looks and he's going to make a leap and all this stuff. It's like, man, did they waste another 3rd round pick on a guy who's not going to see the field?
Maybe. I don't know that Nick Martin not starting this year is some disaster. Like, if he's just like a special teams guy his rookie season, as long as he's like on the 53 and playing and active, then I think that's okay. If Dee Winters is playing at a reasonable level, if Dee Winters is bad and Nick Martin can't beat him out, then that's problematic. But yeah, that would be a disaster if in 2 years we're like, man, Nick Martin couldn't win a starting job, or Nick Martin they cut him in training camp in 2027. Like, that would be real problematic. But I'm not there yet in terms of like wasting the draft pick. But it could be a situation where Dee Winters just did get markedly better.
Sure.
And like we've seen guys get a lot better. I know there have been stories about him He got that interception on one of the first plays of 11 on 11s, largely because he studied film and he recognized the formation and the splits, and then he just jumped the route and got the pick. And he's talked about nutrition and being professional and things like that. Maybe Dee Winters recognized the same thing the 49ers recognized, in that they need more from that guy. And then Dee Winters is improving pretty dramatically. I don't know that would necessarily mean the Nick Martin thing is a wasted pick. If he's not active on game days, if he's unable to, be the third or fourth linebacker, and he's not up on, special teams, and he's not available on game days, that would be real problematic. But for now, again, it's 2 days, pads aren't even on. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting situation. I think we were right, or you were right, to identify that will linebacker spot is one of the most intriguing throughout camp. I mean, it's not quite as intriguing as a kicker competition.
Well, no. I want to don't get it twisted. That's very true.
But yeah, Nick Martin might be a fine special teamer, and Navarro Bowman was a special teams guy his first season too. Right. And that's not to say I think Nick Martin's going to be Navarro Bowman, but it doesn't, just because a guy doesn't start his rookie season doesn't mean he's not going to be. He's going to be
no doubt. It was more about if you think Dee Winters is good or ready to play that position, then why are you spending a 3rd round pick on that exact position? And again, if you have too many, if Nick Martin's awesome and Dee Winters awesome, that's a good problem to have. Having too many good players.
We got to go back to our draft philosophy. Just draft good players.
Draft good guys.
Maybe they think Nick Martin's going to be good, and then Dee Winters just happen to be better than they thought.
I have another half a takeaway. I have 3 full takeaways, but it's 4 things, 2 full things, 2 half things. Okay. One of the half things that I just thought of right now is George Kittle and Nick Bosa talking about how they're watching the kicker competition because it's fascinating. Because they have the permanent goalpost now, so you can see the kicks better.
Yeah.
And they're watching those guys duke it out. I do think it's interesting, though, that the players are that 2 players just acknowledged it as a kicker battle, and not because remember year 1, Jake Moody was drafted 99th overall in the 3rd round, and they brought in was it Zane Gonzalez?
Sounds right.
To not compete, but more just in case he's a disaster, there's a veteran fallback option here who can make a kick if needed. This year, I thought that's kind of what Greg Joseph was. A veteran guy, they feel good about him making a game-winning kick. And in case Moody just it completely has the yips and falls apart, okay, Greg Joseph's here. He's in camp. They don't have to scramble to find somebody. They got a guy. But it sounds like it's an actual, if Greg Joseph's just better than Jake Moody in the preseason, he'll be their kicker.
Is Brant Boyer the assistant general manager of the 49ers right now? Because it kind of feels like it.
That's a great question. That's a really good question that I don't have a good answer to. It feels like they've done a lot. It does. When you start to think about it, it feels like Brant Boyer's had a lot of say on the 90 man.
Right. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are filling out the top 22, 25 players on the roster. And then when it comes to all the special teams guys, they're like, Brant, who you like? We'll go get him. Oh, you like Tom Morstead?
Bet.
He's our guy. Oh, you want to throw Greg Joseph into the mix? Do it.
Not a fan of George Odom's lane integrity on kickoffs last year. All right, he's gone.
Out of here.
You want Luke Gifford? Yeah, we got Lukey G. Come on down.
Yeah. Chaz Surratt. Get him in here. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing, though. Greg Joseph kicked for the Jets, where Brant Boyer was the special teams coach. And it's all right. Given all of the moves so far, I think the least surprising thing that could happen would be Brant Boyer is just yep, Greg Joseph, he's our kicker.
We all thought that Robert Saleh coming to San Francisco was going to mean a bunch of defensive guys were coming, but no. It was a
Brant
special
Boyer
teams
and-
coordinator you got to watch out for. Brant just kicked the door down and said, "This is my show. I want this 39-year-old long snapper and a 40-year-old punter, please."
If Blake Costanzo, if it was like the Tony Montana crew, like
Oh,
if Blake
God, what a
Costanzo
team.
led special teams, Tavares Gooden, we gotta find a nickname for these former Jets special teamers.
Okay. I'll have to think about that. All right. I'll workshop some ideas and we can go over them next
Yeah,
pod.
we can talk about that. My first thought, which I'm not gonna say on the podcast, Elton John, and no, we're not doing that. There's
Benny and the Jets?
Yeah, but it's
If Jauan Jennings was a special teams guy, it would work great.
that's
Jauan
true.
Jennings' name is Benny, in case
Right.
anyone didn't know that.
That's
the joke.
Right. Elton John and Future, not kind of different.
Not going to hold my breath for that collab as bad as I want it.
Yeah, that would be a good collab.
Think their voices would play well off each other?
Yeah. We had an Isaiah Nayer sighting.
Boy, did we. Ooh, you have a takeaway. I love this.
Yeah, just made a nice catch. Has looked good, I guess, in the first couple days of camp. Jacob Cowing has a hamstring injury, which we haven't talked about yet. Kyle Shanahan noted, before practice started, or I guess it was after the first practice, that Cowing had one of the best springs of anybody on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like, man, that would be a great development for the Niners given their situation at receiver. And then it turns out Cowing is a hamstring injury, and it sounded like a pretty substantial one. So it might be one that, we don't see him till the middle or late August, which would be a big bummer for him. But you have Isaiah Nayer playing well, I guess, at the start of camp in padless practices. Russell Gage, apparently also playing football and is somebody that people are noticing. I'd be curious to go out there on Sunday and see how he does.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing with Russell Gage is that when he's been healthy, he's been a pretty productive receiver. The issue is he hasn't played football in an NFL game since 2022. Injuries. He was with Tampa Bay in 2023, suffered a knee injury, I believe, in August. That cost him the whole season, and then last year landed on the 49ers practice squad. And as somebody, like, frankly, I'd forgotten about, because he was already on the team. It wasn't like an off-season addition type thing. And Russell Gage, go through the numbers. Like, he's got 14 career touchdowns. He's appeared in 74 games, made 25 starts. He's had 2 seasons of at least 770 yards with the Falcons, and again in 2020 and 2021. So it's been a while. But, like, if he can play special teams, maybe this is like the next sort of Chris Connolly, right?
Sure.
Like, I don't know. It's just notable because he's not somebody we've talked about hardly at all, I don't think. And I think at this point, given the state of the receiving core, given the injury to Brandon Ayuk, given that Ricky Pearsall is a question mark, given that Demarcus Robinson might be suspended, like, I'm kind of to the point where, man, if Russell Gage is healthy and he can play special teams, if he's on the 53-man roster in week 1, like, that wouldn't surprise me, right? Is that fair?
No, not at all. When you look at their receiving core, he's the player down, because I think in a perfect world, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, Jauan Jennings, Demarcus Robinson, Jacob Cowing, and Jordan Watkins are probably their 6 receivers, right?
Yeah.
But with Ayuk out and Pearsall already hurt and Cowing now hurt, if you were going to take a 7th guy out of that 6, Russell Gage is probably the front runner for that spot. I think he's just there. He's the most accomplished veteran, and Kyle Shanahan, like you said, that Chris Conley type, just knows where to be. He knows exactly what he's going to get out of him. And for a 5th or 6th receiver who might have to be on the field, knowing that player is just not going to do something bad is probably worth having him around. So it wouldn't shock me at all if that winds up being the case, given how the injury situation seems to be shaken out.
Yeah, and speaking of receivers too, this is always notable. Jordan Watkins seems to be off to a decent start, and I think Jordan Watkins is really sort of the latest test case of like, does Kyle Shanahan hate young receivers or not? Or like, what is Kyle Shanahan's threshold going to be for a young receiver in this case? Because,
Right.
Obviously there's been a whole lot of evidence that it's very difficult to play as a young wide receiver in Kyle Shanahan's offense. Jordan Watkins should have an opportunity at snaps, given the injury situation that we've outlined. And one, is he good enough to earn Kyle Shanahan's trust? Two, is Shanahan willing to put him in a spot where he's a contributor early on? And three, like, can he play special teams? I guess he would probably have to be a special teamer if he's going to be active on game days,
which he hasn't done a lot of in his career.
Right. So that'll be something to sort of keep an eye on in the preseason and the joint practices coming up against the Broncos. Junior Bergen, Junior Bergen, someone we haven't mentioned yet, return specialist. Brant Boyer guy.
Legit.
Shadow GM.
Yeah.
Brant Boyer.
It's like Brant Boyer's son coaches at Montana or something. Or his son's friend coaches at Montana.
His son knew him. Yeah.
Brant Boyer pounded the table for Junior Bergen, who is a punt return whiz. I do think, just getting deep on the roster here, the Cowing injury probably opens the door. If he's going to miss multiple weeks, that probably opens the door a little bit for Bergen, because if Bergen's going to make the roster, it's because he is that impactful as a punt returner.
Yeah.
And I would imagine he's second up, because I don't think they're going to give Ricky Pearsall a ton of burn at punt return while they're trying to keep him healthy through camp. And if Cowing's out, I would imagine Bergen's the next guy up there.
I have a scenario I want to throw at you.
Oh, I can't wait.
Say the Niners win 11 games and they win the NFC West.
Okay.
Say all of the special teams metrics, DVOA, points added, EPA, all those things, they're like top 5 in special teams. Is Brant Boyer a candidate for Executive of the Year?
I thought you were going to say Assistant Coach of the Year. But yeah, I think if
Greg Joseph is like 28 of 31, has a couple game-winning kicks.
Yeah, I think the key will be, can the special teams unit that Brant Boyer has built in a cave with a box of scraps, can they perform when the lights are the brightest? Can you get a primetime game where you return a punt for a touchdown and maybe block a field goal? Can you get those in primetime? That's where I think you really see Double B's candidacy skyrocket.
Right. Does Junior Bergen flash those Devin Hester type traits that we're all hoping to see?
Junior Bergen's Rookie of the Year odds and Brant Boyer's Executive of the Year odds are directly proportional to one another.
We have not talked about this bit or ever, but I'm really enjoying it so far. Brant Boyer.
Yeah, this is you got this on the fly. This is great. I'm really loving this. So this is something that I'm gonna just laugh about later, and my wife's gonna go, "What are you laughing at?" I'm gonna go, not gonna try and explain, and I'm gonna try and explain, and it's not gonna go well. The other thing I thought, this isn't like a takeaway, I just thought it was more fun, I guess. Trent Williams talking about Mykel Williams today on Thursday. He was talking about how he hates blocking guys like Williams, whose arms are as long as their legs, and he's got all this talent, and I'm more optimistic about Mykel Williams now than I was, just hearing some of his teammates talk about him. The fact that he hasn't been a a total disaster through OTAs and 2 days of camp, I think I think that's a really big deal for rookies, by the way. Just not being a mess before pads come on is, I think, kind of a significant hurdle. And he's been getting the first team reps at defensive end. So I am pretty high on Mykel Williams, and I think Trent Williams probably is too. I don't think Trent Williams is talking about a player like that if he's not confident in that player's ability.
Yeah, and it's a minor thing, and obviously he hasn't played a snap in pads yet. But the fact that he is lining up with the first team defense from the jump, I think is pretty meaningful.
Yeah.
Because Alfred Collins isn't just yet, right? Like
yeah, he's the only rookie getting. According to Nick Wagner, Upton Stout got some first team reps in the slot today.
Yeah.
But Mykel Williams is the only one getting legit first team reps. Only rookie.
Yeah, and that's earned, right? Like obviously you want the guy you draft high in the first round to be starting with you eventually, but to have that starting spot opposite Nick Bosa seemingly locked up, or at least early in training camp, is certainly a good sign.
Yeah.
So again, no pads. We have no idea, but I was looking at the odds before we came on. He's got the third, or I guess he's I don't even know how to say the third best odds. Is that the way to say it? Third best odds to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. So the prognosticators like what Mykel Williams could be for the 49ers. And I'm high on Mykel Williams. I think he's
same.
A lot of potential. So we'll see. I found it interesting that Trent Williams talking about his jet. Like, does Trent own a jet?
Trent owns a jet. I want to ask him how much that plane cost.
Owning a jet is crazy. Like, it's one thing to like fly private a lot. Like you can whatever. Like, yeah, I'll pay $50,000 for this flight to Mexico or whatever. But like owning a jet is an entirely different. That's a different sport.
One, you don't just buy a jet and then everything's free. Like you got to pay a pilot and like a crew, and you got to store it. That is a major thing you own a jet.
Like flying commercial is like picking up pickleball. Like owning a jet is like playing Wimbledon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Shouts out. That's definitely the ultimate rich person move. Like any asshole with a few bucks can own multiple houses. You know? Like, all right, yeah, you got a vacation home. Cool. Oh, cool. You live in a 12-bedroom, 42-bathroom mansion in the hills of Montana. Cool. Like, all right, cool. You got some money. It's owning a jet and then yachts.
Yeah.
I think a yacht is right above a jet in terms of rich people thing.
Which would you rather have? Because I've had this discussion multiple times with friends. Is it a yacht
say
or
I've
a
had
jet?
both.
No, I've not.
Also, that just goes to show the circles you run in, by the way. That you've had this conversation multiple times with friends.
No, it's hypothetical. It's not that any of us have enough money for these scenarios. It's that, like, if you had $50 million, are you buying a private jet or a yacht?
I saw one of your friends walk into a rented club the night of your wedding and go, "Tabs on me, run it up." I'm like, all right, you got it, dog. Bet.
There's a little more to it than that, but yeah, that might have.
No, I think. Ooh, I think I'm gonna go jet. I think I'd rather have a PJ.
Yeah, I'm not a big boat guy just because I get seasick very easily.
Yeah,
and Dramamine's a good pal of mine, and we can make that work. But yeah, I would rather have the ability to just kind of go anywhere I want at any time, like anywhere around the world at any time, than like hang out in like a luxurious boat that's like in a very specific place.
Yeah, if you've got PJ money, you can rent a yacht. You can just go on below deck. for a week.
I can fly. I can take my jet and say I want to go to
Fort Lauderdale,
Barbados, and then rent the boat in Barbados instead of being like, well, my boat's in San Diego, and if I want to go to this way, we gotta be on it for a month and take it through the canal and
then when you go to San Diego, you can't fly coach to go on your yacht.
Right.
So you're paying first class for the ticket every time you want to.
Yeah, sounds terrible.
Now what if there's a storm? It's just a whole thing.
If we are ever blessed with Trent Williams on this podcast, that is going to be one of the first things we ask him about.
That's all I want to talk about. I don't give a shit about who's the hardest defender to block. Who's the underrated defender? Who's your favorite teammate? No.
I actually think he would enjoy just talking about the Jet.
How fucking rich he is. Hey, you're like super rich. Tell us about it.
Yeah. Speaking of Trent, Spencer Burford, backup left tackle so far in camp. Any thoughts?
Does not own a PJ.
Not yet.
Sure. Like that's the logical, I think, outcome of training camp. Like Spencer, I think the value of having Spencer Burford as your swing tackle is A, I think he can do that job, but B, you also know he can play both guard spots. And I think in the modern NFL, I shouldn't say the modern NFL, in the NFL, having a reserve offensive lineman who can fill 4 spots for you is pretty valuable, even if he's mediocre at those various things. I think there's immense value in taking up one roster spot to fill potentially 4 positions.
Andre Dillard is on the active PUP, so no idea what to expect from him. He's dealing with an injury. I was listening to our pals Matt Barrows and Tim Kawakami on their 49ers Plus Minus podcast earlier today.
Good pod.
And Barrows said something, and Barrows, he talks to the coaches and people in the building. He knows things.
He's been around.
He said something that I almost had to sit down. He said the Niners coaches think Jake Brendel is one of the best centers in the NFL.
Yeah, man. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch said that publicly.
Did they?
Yeah.
What's that? That's...
Yeah, Shanahan was like, you look at the metrics, and he does this and that, and blah, 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 and he was top 5 in this, and da-da-da. Yeah. They're big Brendel heads.
Top 5 at getting walked back into the quarterback spot.
I don't think that's what he said, but I don't remember exactly, so it might have been.
I mean, maybe he is one of the best 5 centers in football, and maybe just the center position in the NFL is in terrible shape league wide, and just they're all bad if Jake Brendel's top 5. I mean, that was wow. Okay, that's fine. All right, Jake Brendel's your guy. Let's gonna live and die with Jake Brendel at center. Let's see it. Maybe he's a Pro Bowler. I don't know. Maybe he was just hurt last year. Maybe that was it. But
we can ask Trent Williams if we ever get him on the pod.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be dying just to trash his starting center.
Trent, tell me about Jake Brendel. You're out, right? Thumbs down?
Would you let Jake Brendel borrow the plane?
What if he had a yacht? Would you let him borrow the yacht?
Yeah. If he goes, oh, hell yeah, then it's like, okay, maybe Jake Brendel's good. She's like, no, hell no. Jake can't get on my plane. Be like,
just
Niners need to draft the center.
Full disclosure. I try not to do the appeal to authority thing, which is like, oh, those guys are all knowing and they're in those positions for a reason. They get paid the money. They know everything. They don't. Guys who they're bad coaches and GMs all over the league. But I think when it comes to things like center play, that's one of the things that I just have to be like, all right. Like if Jake Brendel sucked, I don't think Kyle Shanahan would move forward with him as our center. Because I think that could be really damaging to the offense. So
It's hard to beat out Cassius Marsh.
boy.
Yeah, no, I mean,
better
I'm not
center.
gonna.
Better center, Jake Brendel or Domantas Sabonis?
I'll give it to Domas. I'll give it to Domas. Although I think his short arms might actually help him in the NFL.
Good point.
He can shock
Yeah,
the defensive lineman with his
Totally.
hands a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like, I'm not going to pretend to be like an expert on centers. I don't have any confidence in the Niners going up against a team with elite defensive tackles
Sure.
and being like, yeah, Jake Brendel's going to be awesome.
Yeah, they got him. Yeah.
Love this matchup. I'm just not until I see it. And so, yeah, like I'm open to the range of outcomes that include Jake Brendel maybe being a good center. I just have not seen that from him yet.
All right. That's fair. I have nothing else through the first 2 days of camp.
Yeah, well, so the Niners will practice again on Friday. They'll have an off day Saturday. I will be on the grounds on Sunday, and I will report back. Maybe we should do a pod. We'll talk offline about our next.
Yeah,
pod.
well,
But
we can.
Our next pod will
produce on the
feature
fly.
color from the grounds in Santa Clara. Curious to see what the new field setup looks like.
Yeah, yeah. That's been the talk of camp is that they've flipped the way the fields are set up. I just want you to know, since you're going out there, we should. I'm gonna just on the next pod. I'm just gonna run through the 90 man, and you give me something on everybody.
That's always my favorite thing. Like back when
Isaiah Hodgins, what'd you see?
Yeah, no, like you'd tweet out a story, and be like, "What Matt Hennessy do today?" It's like, guys,
What do you got on Derek? What do you
going on at practice?
What do you got for me on Derek Canteen?
Yeah, well, I'll keep an eye out for him. Isaac Alarcon, somebody I'm keeping an eye on. Austin Pleasance,
Greg Joseph.
well, the starting kicker, obviously.
You get there on Sunday. If you want to stop listening to the pod, I'm just gonna be goofy with my friend now. Subscribe, rate, review, all that jazz. You get there to training camp. You just beeline it for the goalposts. Sit crisscross applesauce under the goalposts and just wait.
I'm just gonna ask everyone about Brant and how amazing he's been from a personnel perspective. Having a scouting eye like that in the building, what that's done for the front office. Yeah, no, it'll be fun. Training camp's fun. Not gonna overreact. Pads won't be on. Ricky Pearsall hopefully will be practicing on Sunday. That's what everyone's been hinting
That's
at.
the scuttlebutt.
That is the scuttlebutt. Yeah, there was talk today, like Mykel, you mentioned it earlier, but Mykel Williams, like being, I'm curious to see like how big he looks in person. There were some like DeForest Buckner comps. That's, I mean, in terms of size, and that's like DeForest Buckner was a large human.
DeForest Buckner is a certified Haas.
6'8". Williams is what, 6'5.5" or something like that. But yeah, him and Alfred Collins, just curious what those guys look like in person and how they hold up and against blockers and things like that. Yeah, you just you obviously get a better feel for players when you see them in person.
I do think that somebody standing out as large before pads come on is interesting. Like that's something that I'm filing away.
True.
6'5", 260, 34 and 3/8 inch arms.
I will say one of the largest guys I ever remember seeing, and this was even on a team that included Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner. Like Javon Kinlaw,
I know what you're gonna say.
Javon Kinlaw was a massive dude even without pads, and it was like, whoa, this guy looks like a player.
What about
not the best player?
What about Trent Brown? I believe
Trent
one time you
Brown-
said that. I believe one time you said Trent Brown is a house.
Trent Brown was a house. Not the, at least early on in his career, didn't carry the best weight. Right? Like he was like 360 pounds and not exactly a chiseled 360. But what stood out about Trent Brown, aside from just how big he was how long his arms were. I don't think in my time covering the 49ers, there was ever a player with longer arms than Trent Brown.
I'm looking up his arm length right now. I was looking up Alden Smith's
38
measurables.
arms or something insane.
I was looking up Alden Smith's measurables to see how Mykel Williams compared. And Alden Smith, 6'4", 263. Mykel Williams, 6'4", 280, which is
I think he's
enormous.
267.
Is that what he is? But Alden Smith had 35 and 3/8 inch arms.
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
His length was like the length of his arms was crazy.
Wow.
You have Trent Brown's arm length?
I'm working on that right now. My internet is really 6'5", 260 for Mykel Williams with the 34 and 3/8 inch arms. Trent Brown, I've got 36 inch arms. It's 6'8 and a half, 355 with 10 and 7/8 inch hands.
Yeah. He was
House.
Still is a house.
Man.
Made a lot of money. Brown.
Our guy Lance Zerline, who writes the prospect review things on NFL.com. Brown has the pure size to block out the sun, and unlike some players with his bulk, he knows how to use it. He can... I'm sorry. Here we go. I'm going to gather myself. I'm not going to make it.
Jesse Tapia is throwing a flag somewhere.
He can plow holes as a run blocker, but can only play right guard in a power scheme. His lack of playing experience and conditioning concerns could hurt his draft stock.
His conditioning concerns, I think, lived with him throughout his NFL career. Is he still in the league?
Nah, I don't think so. Shout out to him if he is, though. It's a good career.
He made a bunch of money. Trent Brown.
Yeah, he got paid.
Earnings.
I hope that there's somebody on pins and needles waiting for this Trent Brown thing.
I think he might be on he's under contract with the Texans of Houston.
What?
Yeah.
He is still in the league.
Career earnings. Do you have a guess for career earnings so far for Trent Brown?
$91 million.
He's 30. This is his 32-year-old season. He's made $70 million,
wow.
$70.6 million in cash.
Good for him, man.
Not quite jet money, but he can fly private if he wants.
All right, that's all I got. Can't wait for the next pod. Oh,
we haven't talked at all about Brock Purdy, mostly because quarterback stats from training camp without pads, not the most helpful thing.
Pretty useless. Yeah,
pretty useless. But we'll talk about we'll make it a point to talk about Brock. After
yeah. We'll get to
get the eyes on him on Sunday.
Nothing earth shattering yet. He's a quarterback.
I think generally, and this is the last thing. We'll get out here on this.
I'm not saying any more words.
I think it's good news when there isn't really anything notable happening at quarterback in training camp. And he completed a bunch of passes today. I guess he was 13 of 14, whatever. Fine. NFL quarterbacks should do that. That's like what they should do in practice without pads. But it's because if he was touchdowns all over the place, you'd be like, man, the defense sucks. If it was interceptions all over the place, you'd be like, man, what's going on with Brock? So the fact that it's kind of nondescript, doing what he should do, I think that's good. Anyway. All right. Subscribe, rate, and review. Check out our YouTube channel. And we'll talk to you guys later.